Thanks for joining us today for our online celebration. You are joining us for a very important journey called Made for More. If you've missed any messages that go along with this series, you can find them online at movementfindlay.com. In order to get the full Made for More experience, I want to encourage you to join a move group. During move group, you'll have a chance to talk with other people about going on the journey, ask questions, and dive deeper into what we're talking about during our movement celebrations. You can go online to movementfindlay.com to sign up for a move group. I want to invite you to join us for an exciting in-person movement celebration on November 15th. This is going to be the final day of our Made for More journey. It's going to be at Owens Community College. We look forward to you being a part of that celebration. If you're new to movement or just want to know more about this Made for More journey, you can go to movementfindlay.com and click on the Made for More banner. There you will find all sorts of resources and stories that will help you engage in this journey. Thanks for joining us today for our online celebration. You are joining us for a very important journey called Made for More. If you've missed any messages that go along with this series, you can find them online at movementfindlay.com. In order to get the full Made for More experience, I want to encourage you to join a move group. During move group, you'll have a chance to talk with other people about going on the journey, ask questions, and dive deeper into what we're talking about during our movement celebrations. You can go online to movementfindlay.com to sign up for a move group. I want to invite you to join us for an exciting in-person movement celebration on November 15th. This is going to be the final day of our Made for More journey. It's going to be at Owens Community College. We look forward to you being a part of that celebration. If you're new to movement or just want to know more about this Made for More journey, you can go to movementfindlay.com and click on the Made for More banner. There you will find all sorts of resources and stories that will help you engage in this journey. For joining us today for our online celebration. You are joining us for a very important journey called Made for More. If you've missed any messages that go along with this series, you can find them online at movementfindlay.com. order to get the full Made for More experience, I want to encourage you to join a move group. During move group, you'll have a chance to talk with other people about going on the journey, ask questions, and dive deeper into what we're talking about during our movement celebrations. You can go online to movementfindlay.com to sign up for a move group. I want to invite you to join us for an exciting in-person movement celebration on November 15th. This is going to be the final day of our Made for More journey. It's going to be at Owens Community College. We look forward to you being a part of that celebration. If you're new to movement or just want to know more about this Made for More journey, you can go to movementfindlay.com and click on the Made for More banner. There you will find all sorts of resources and stories that will help you engage in this journey. Thanks for joining us today for our online celebration. You are joining us for a very important journey called Made for More. If you've missed any messages that go along with this series, you can find them online at movementfindlay.com. In order to get the full Made for More experience, I want to encourage you to join a move group. During move group, you'll have a chance to talk with other people about going on the journey, ask questions, and dive deeper into what we're talking about during our movement celebrations. You can go online to movementfindlay.com to sign up for a move group. I want to invite you to join us for an exciting in-person movement celebration on November 15th. This is going to be the final day of our Made for More journey. It's going to be at Owens Community College. We look forward to you being a part of that celebration. If you're new to movement or just want to know more about this Made for More journey, you can go to movementfindlay.com and click on the Made for More banner. There you will find all sorts of resources and stories that will help you engage in this journey.
Good morning, movement, and welcome to our celebration this morning. I'm your host, Allison, with Evan here, and we're so glad you joined us this morning. We are beginning our Made for More series, and we are just so happy that you're with us and jumping on board for this series.
Absolutely. And if you're new to us, you could not have picked a better time to join us. Allison mentioned the Made for More series. If you're wondering what that is, it started last year. It's a 2-year initiative, and we're just revisiting it this year. And so if you're new to us, it's a great time to figure out what Made for More is. This is a 4-part series, so we really encourage you to stick around for all 4 weeks, really get a good grasp on what Made for More is. If you're newer to movement, this might be a great time for you to jump on board as well with a new commitment. So, Allison, we talk about Made for More, and you and I are pretty familiar with it. We're going to familiarize others with it. But really, when it all boils down to it, Made for More is just an overall vision of what movement is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So about a year ago, we started this series, and we are asking the question, what is the more that God has for me? And each one of us, that might look different. But as a church, we ask that question too. What is the more that God has for movement? And we really broke it down into 3 things. More through mobilization. The second being more in our community. We love the community in movement, but also in outside of Findlay. And then the last, more with our partners. We have different partners in movement, and we felt like that is something that is the more that God is calling us to. So as you said, the significance of this series in the last year it's huge for us as individually, but as a church, it is really important. And like you were saying, to stick with us throughout this whole series. Just challenge yourself to make a point to be a part of this series and a part of the Made for More journey, and just see where God takes you.
Absolutely. And hey, if you are new, we're so excited that you're here, as we said before. And we want you to know that you're welcomed here as you are. Whether you have doubts, concerns, questions, it doesn't matter. We're just happy that you're here. We want to get to know you better, and so there is a comment pinned at the very top of the comment section that has a link to a connection card, and we just ask that you fill that out so we get to know your name, a little bit more about you, and so that we can really connect it and get to know you.
Yeah, we'd love to know who is watching. We would love to know, who you are, and so we'd love to just be praying for you, reach out to you. So definitely fill out that connection card. And just to kind of give you an idea of what this morning's gonna look like, we're gonna have a time of worship. Love singing, love worshiping. And then we'll have a message from Eric, and we're also gonna get to hear a story from Matt and Mandi and Tyler and Muriel. So it's definitely stick around, but for now, let's have the time of worship.
Well, movement, we are singing a song as we start this Made for More journey together. This song is called More to Come. And we used this song as an anthem last year because of how excited we were about what God was going to do during Made for More. And even now, there's more to come. And God has more for us. So let's sing this song together. Let's celebrate together. You're the God who makes the giants fall. You bring down the walls of Jericho. You're the God who gives us miracles. We believe. You're the God who parts the ocean wide, just to bring us closer to your side. You're the God who brings the dead to life. We believe. We believe. And God, how great you are. Great things you have done. For everything we've seen, there is more to come. For every victory and every battle won, for everything we've seen, there is is more to come. We are confident in all your ways, 'cause we know you never make mistakes. God, you fill us with the greater faith. We believe it. We believe. God, how great you are, the great things you have done. For everything we've seen, there is more to come. For every victory and every battle won, for everything we've seen, there is more to come. And all of our trust in, all of our future in the God who never fails, all of our faith in, all of our strength in, all of our future in the God who never fails, and all of our hope in, all of our trust in, and all of our future in the God who never fails, and all of our faith in, come on, in all of our strength in, all of our future in the God who never fails. God, how great you are, the great things you have done. For everything we've seen, there is more to come. For every victory and every battle won, for everything we've seen, there is more to come. And God, how great you are, the great things you have done. For everything we've seen, there is more to come. For every victory and every battle won, for everything we've seen, there is more to come.
Well, it's hard to believe that it was, about a year ago that we introduced this opportunity to go on a journey together called Made for More. And Made for More really began with this belief, this conviction that God was calling our church, was calling Movement to take a big, bold, significant, game-changing step of faith. That God was calling us to something that would, truly just require His power, something that would stretch every single one of us, something that would make us, uncomfortable, something that would require us to come together and really rally around our mission together, which is to help people find and follow God. And so we started by gathering our leadership team and our staff, our missional partners, and we asked the question, where is God leading us? What is God calling us to next? And over the course of a few months and a few different gatherings and through a lot of prayer and collaboration, a vision really started to rise to the surface. And sure enough, it was big, it was exciting, and honestly, it was intimidating. And that vision was built around this word, more. That God had even more for our church, but it didn't stop there. That God had more for every single one of us. He had more for you, He had more for me. And the reason that we knew this to be true was because of Paul's prayer to the church in Ephesus. Listen to what he says in Ephesians chapter 3. He says, "Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably, exceedingly or abundantly more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that's at work within us, to Him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen." So what does God want to accomplish through his power working in us? The answer is more than we could ever ask or imagine. That there really is no limit, which means this: you and I were made for more. And the question really became, what are we made for more of? And when it came to movement, we really believe there were three parts to this big made for more vision. The first is that we believe God wanted us to do more through mobilization. Let me just share a little bit of the history of movement with you. When we planted movement, it wasn't because there weren't enough church options for people in Findlay or Hancock County, and it wasn't because we felt like we could have a better service than other churches, that we could do music better or have better teaching or better kids programs. We felt called to start movement because of a clear vision, and really for the purpose of equipping and sending people to the places that God had called them. That really God had called us to start this church because there was this great need to redefine why Jesus established his church and what he was inviting people into when he said, come follow me and I will make you fishers of men. In fact, if you want to know why we made the decision to call this church Movement, it was because from the very beginning, we felt God was calling every single one of us to be a part of that mission. It takes more than, one or two people for something to be a movement. A movement builds, and it requires many, many people taking action. And so this has always been a part of our DNA, but I want to be honest with you, this has not always been an easy thing. I mean, there are years and years of church habits and, years and years of expectations for what church looks like. I mean, even cultural expectations. But here's what we've seen happen over the past 6 years is people really start to experience something new and something exciting, and it's transformative for them. And we believe that God wants us to commit, even more to mobilizing people, more to equipping and sending people to the places God has called them. Now, the second thing we believed was that God was calling us to do more in our community, that God was leading us to a permanent facility that would be for the community. I mean, it would be a facility that would allow us to serve people and to have an even greater impact, and greater presence in Findlay. We believed he was calling us to be downtown in the heart of the city, connecting with people. And sure enough, just a couple of months after finishing our Made for More journey last year, we had closed on the purchase of the Ace Hardware building downtown. And I'm just super excited that over the next few months, we'll open a facility that I pray God uses daily, not just weekly, but daily as a connecting place within our community, that it will serve people and will help them find and follow him. And then third, we believe God was calling us to do even more with our partners, that we would, take steps to be even more generous, that we would be a part of establishing a movement of like-minded churches in Guatemala, that we would serve kids even more with our partnership with the Christian Children's Home of Ohio, and that we would, serve kids in our community even more through our partnership with our city and with our schools. And so it was this time last year that I stood up at Glenwood Middle School, the place where we used to meet every week, and I asked every single person at Movement, would you go on this journey with me? I mean, that was our primary goal, that over the course of a month that we would have 100% of people that call Movement home really experience this, life-changing, faith-building encounter with God by engaging in this journey, which really meant asking this simple question: well, what's the more God has for me? You see, we believe this question would open the door for God to move in ways beyond anything we could ask or imagine. And we knew for us to accomplish this three-part vision that it would take all of us, and it would take all of us asking that question, which would then lead to this second goal, which was to really set this goal to commit to $850,000 in generosity over 2 years in order to position us to accomplish this vision. And I will just tell you, it was a big God-sized goal. And so we began this journey together last year, and honestly, what a ride it's been. I mean, I've heard stories of God moving, people's faith being stretched, stories of people facing, trials, but then experiencing triumph. And I pray that these next 4 weeks, for those of you that have been on the journey, that this will just maybe spark even a greater excitement for what's to come. And for others of you, this is all new. You're new to movement, and over the next few weeks, I'm going to invite you to be a part of this journey with us. It is not too late for you to be a part of it. This is such an important faith-building thing for every single one of us. And here's what I wholeheartedly believe as we go on this journey together, that we're made for more. Now, I have to tell you, as confident as I was that God was calling us to take this step as a church, and, as firmly as I held on to the belief that God was able to do, immeasurably more than all I could ask or imagine, I'm gonna be pretty transparent with you. As we began this journey last year, externally, I was on fire. I was saying, man, we've got this. I had this confidence, this belief about where God was leading, but internally, there were these moments where I just tried to play out the scenarios. I tried to do the math, which is, not a strong suit for me, but I would, sit down and try to think through how we could reach this generosity goal. And I would try to figure out how to make it seem more, more manageable or more achievable, honestly, more controllable. I mean, how do I make sure that we get there? And the questions started to creep in. What if people aren't willing to take a step of faith? What if they're not as excited about this as I am? What if? And internally, the doubts and the fears started building, and there was this battle that was taking place. And the battle really came down to this: do I live by faith in what God wants us to do? Or do I live in fear over what seems, so beyond the scope of what realistically we're able to do? And, as I said all along, this Made for More journey, it's a faith journey. And so that's where I want us to begin today. I want us to see that whenever God, calls us to something big, it involves a choice. And here's the choice. It's, do I choose faith or do I choose fear? Let me just take this a step further. If you feel that God is calling you to something, something big, and it doesn't involve this choice, faith or fear, I'm going to challenge you to reconsider if it's truly what God is calling you to. Because as I look throughout the scriptures, here's what I see is that, faith is this defining characteristic that God uses in order to have people and communities do big things for him. And here's why. Our faith requires trust. It requires a dependence upon him. And God is not asking us to do big things for him apart from him. Like, we were never meant to follow God apart from God. No, it's just the opposite. In fact, the writer of Hebrews makes it clear just how important faith is when it comes to our journey of following God. And here's what he says in Hebrews 11:6. He says, and without faith, it's impossible to please God. Now, just let that, sink in for a minute. Our faith pleases God. So what's faith all about? I mean, the book of Hebrews, right at the beginning of chapter 11, here's what we see about faith. We read, now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about, what we do not see. And the writer of Hebrews is referring to is specifically, followers of Jesus. And as followers of Jesus, we have this hope because of God's promises to us, promises about the past, promises about the present, and even promises about the future. And so we put our hope in those promises. But there's more to faith than just hope, right? I mean, there's this assurance. I mean, this isn't just, wishing for something to happen. It's actually building your life on a foundation, knowing what is to come. That faith is trusting in the promises of God and then, living your life according to those promises. And the writer of Hebrews says every time we choose to trust in God and live that out, he says that's what is called faith. And our faith pleases God. Now, on the flip side, when we choose not to trust God, we miss out on the more that God has for us because, we choose to maybe put our confidence or our trust in what we can do, what we can manage rather than what God has the power to do through us. And so I love Hebrews 11 because it's full of stories of people from the Old Testament who took steps of faith, even when it was beyond their comprehension, even when they didn't have everything figured out, but they trusted in the faithfulness of God. Now, one of those people is a guy by the name of Abraham, who we read about all the way back in the book of Genesis. And we read in Genesis that he hears from God. God says, I want you to pick up all your belongings, everything that you've spent all your life accumulating, and I want you to go. And Abraham, I just want you to know I'm going to build a great nation through you, and I will be your God, and you will be my people, and many people will be blessed because of you. And listen to what the writer of Hebrews says about Abraham. It says, by faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. I don't want us to miss this. Oftentimes, our step of faith, our trust requires us to go before we know, right? Like, we don't know where it is God's leading, but we just are going to trust in his promises. And so then it goes on and it says, by faith, he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, Abraham's wife, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. You see, a lot of faith is built on trusting in the faithfulness of God, who is, true to his promises. It goes on and says, and so from this one man, and he was as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand of the seashore. Well, I mean, if you keep reading Hebrews 11, you hear more and more by faith stories. People who trusted in the promises of God. They surrendered to him, they followed in faith, and God moved. That by faith, people experienced the Red Sea being parted, the walls of Jericho come crashing down, the mouths of lions be shut, mighty armies, just falling, and all of this through God's power at work in people living by faith. So last year we went on this journey and we went all in, trusting that if God was leading, he would move. And move he did. I mean, we celebrated that God not only helped us, get to our generosity goal, but we blew past it. And when it was all said and done, we had committed over $900,000 to this vision. I mean, I was blown away because, here's what I saw, that when we step out in faith, God does immeasurably more. But even as amazing as that number is, what really amazed me were the by faith stories tied to this journey. Stories like, by faith, we took a step with our generosity, not knowing, where it would come from. By faith, we stepped into a leadership role, even though we weren't sure that we had what it took to be a leader. By faith, we started investing in someone who was far from God, which was way outside of our comfort zone. By faith, God led us to a permanent facility. By faith, God opened the door for more work to be done in Guatemala. By faith, even when we could no longer meet weekly in person because of a pandemic, we've seen him move the mission forward and more people find their way back to him because, as Jesus says, nothing's going to stand in the way of his church. So let me just encourage you in this. Whenever God is calling us to something big, it comes down to this choice. And here's the choice, right? Do I choose faith or do I choose fear? And when we choose faith, God moves. And so let me just ask you the question, what's the more God has for you? Here's really where I think it begins. It begins with choosing to step out in faith. Today we're here with the Weiningers and the Blacks, and last year as we began this Made for More journey, you guys were actually on video and shared your stories of what excites you about Made for More before we ever even really introduced the whole journey to the church. And so I just thought it'd be really cool to gather you back together now we're a year in, and just hear a little bit more about how that journey's going, and really just hear about some of the steps of faith that you took and stuff like that. So I thought I'd just start and ask the question, what excites you most about just this whole Made for More journey? You're a year into it now. What's really exciting to you about it?
Yeah, I think the thing that excites us most is that we know that when we're challenged, and we knew that Made for More would be a big challenge for us, that we would see tons of growth, that we would see growth in our relationship with God, with each other, in our family, and with other people too. And so we were looking forward to that the most, and saw that really evident during our journey so far.
Yeah, we've had a lot of opportunity to just keep putting our faith in God and not trying to lean on ourselves, but really lean on Him.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what new doors God can open for us, and hopefully we say yes to Him.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been cool. I don't know about you all, but just even in a really weird season with COVID and all that kind of stuff, it's been cool to see how God's used this journey already to do some really cool stuff with our partners, and the facility, which is happening, and mobilization. I know a lot of you are in huddles, and that's part of that whole process of mobilizing people. So just super cool to see what God's doing. So tell me about this step of faith that you all took last year as you decided to go, yes, we want to be a part of this journey. Just share with us the step of faith that you took.
We both were given opportunities to take some leadership positions in various ways, and that's definitely not something that's at our comfort level, but just to say yes to that and to grow in that and grow with other people, speak into them and let them speak into us. It's been really cool.
We've been connected with the movement for a while now, and we've been in move groups, and we've started going to huddles, and it just felt natural for us to take this leap of faith and to do this Made for More journey. And I think that's how it's been for us kind of this whole time, is everything's just kind of felt natural. It's just felt like it's God's plan, that we should just do this.
Yeah, I felt like Muriel and I were both really open to just whatever God had in store for our lives, and a lot of that had to do with some leadership roles, just the same kind of idea, and discipling different people, and getting to build relationships with people, and just really see God moving last year.
And we wanted to see that growth and have that challenge, and with that, we didn't want to become stagnant in our faith, but knowing that with that challenge we would have to take a step out of our comfort zone and really feel uncomfortable with the step that we were taking, because we knew that God would move in that when we were uncomfortable, like we would see a lot of ways that we would have to rely on God, we would have to trust Him, and just know that He knew what was best for us.
So tell me about how you've seen God move then, as you've taken steps of faith and you've said yes, as you've been willing to give generously, serve generously. How have you seen God move through all that?
I've just seen Him be faithful. I mean, in the last year, there's been times that there's things that we both thought, like, man, I don't know, things that shouldn't be working out, and this is tough, and especially with COVID starting, and just some of our financial situations and some of other situations that have happened throughout the year, that just knowing that He was there and faithful, and just that we said yes, that yeah, things were uncomfortable at certain times, but He was always there.
Yeah, our Made for More prayer was that we would be willing to say yes to what God called us to, knowing we could put our full trust in Him. And so we've been able to say yes to new leadership positions, yes to more ways to disciple other people, and yes to having more opportunities to give in different ways, because God has provided for us and has been faithful, and and being able to, we felt really that God called us to start the process of becoming foster parents, and so being able to say yes to that, and it's something that's going to make us really uncomfortable, but we know that it's what God's calling us to, and we'll have that growth because of it. So.
I felt like something that was revealed to me was that my relationship with God used to be that I was, God was the driving instructor and I was the student driver, and He was giving me, the tools and figuring out how to drive, and then I was going to just do that on my own. And I have since realized that God is the driver and I am the car, and so knowing that He will just use me however I am able has definitely changed my way I approach things and think about things.
Yeah, we started to do huddles, and it's in preparation to learn how to be discipling others. And Amanda has already started a huddle of her own, and I don't think you would have done that if you weren't mindful about what God is trying to call you to
Absolutely, that's true.
That is really cool to see.
All right, so hey, why don't we just kind of wrap up? Maybe you've had you've seen God move over the last year, and a lot of that has to do with taking steps of faith. I think Made for More. I think on one level it's like this overall God, I'm available, use me. On another level, it's stretching us financially because that's like a trust thing. And then there are all these other components of Made for More. So just tell me, what would you say to someone that's kind of going, what's my next step as far as Made for More? There's people that are new to movement, that this is going to be an opportunity for them to engage and be a part of this next journey for the journey for the next year. So what would you say to people that are thinking about taking this step?
I would just tell them to pray about it. Pray about it, be open. Just be open to what God has. I mean, a year ago we would have never thought we'd be starting fostering parenting classes, and we've got 3 kids, and but we just know that God's been faithful to us. So I think the first step is prayer, and then just being open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if it's even in your head that maybe this is the steps you should take, chances are there's going to be something that's telling you, no, don't do it. Just try your best to put those thoughts aside and, like Tyler said, just pray about it and be mindful about what God's trying to tell you, and just listen the best you can.
Yeah.
And I just know for myself, like, the blessings of obedience, they give me the confidence I need to do what God's calling me. They give me the willingness and just like the faith. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much just for your time and for going on the journey. And I can't wait to do another video next year and watch Van run around and be like, next year's gonna be awesome. So, just thanks for going on the journey. We look forward to what God's gonna do over this next year as we continue Made for More.
So the really amazing thing about what we just heard from the Blacks and the Weiningers is something that we think about a lot here at Movement, and that's mobilization. Mobilization is something that, like I said, we focus on, and every decision that we make, we always ask ourselves, is what we're doing here equipping people to go out and do what God has called them to do? And so, like we saw with the Blacks and the Weiningers, they feel like they've been equipped and they're going and taking those leadership steps. And it's what we love to see. And Allison, what are some other ways that we've seen mobilization at Movement?
Yeah, so actually what we have done and began with was creating a mobilization team. People who are really looking at that idea of what it means to go and be the church, what is mobilization and what does that look like? So this team is specifically meeting to find out what that does look like for Movement, and just doing it more in a spiritual driven way, and that's really at the heart of it.
It is. And like I said, we always ask ourselves, is what we're doing equipping people? And mobilization is something that we do through our words, through our actions, through even the content we put out. We just started the Go and Be podcast, which is another tool that we can use to help people get a better understanding of how they can use their God-given gifts to go out and be the church.
Yeah, definitely. So you said go out and be the church. So one of our ways that we are being able to be mobilized and going out and being the church is by doing our Serve Sundays, which personally I've been loving them. Obviously with COVID, we've had to change up the way that we celebrate and we serve God and who He is. And so Serve Sunday is just a perfect example of that. Things like going up and picking up leaves and fixing up the benches out at Camp Berry, getting down and dirty with all of nature. It's been pretty exciting, but at the heart of it, you're able to see people who may not be a part of movement yet, but they're out there working because somebody who is involved in movement invited them. And so I think that that's what mobilization is. We're equipping not only people who are part of movement on a Sunday, every week celebration level, but people who are just out in the community. They're out and they're seeing who we are as movement, but they're more importantly seeing God and how He works through us. And I think that's a perfect example of mobilization.
Absolutely. And in order to mobilize, we've been so blessed at Movement to see all the different steps that people are taking to help us go and be the church. And one of those steps at the beginning of Made for More was a financial contribution, a financial commitment from a lot of folks. And that has really helped us. And we've been very blessed to receive those gifts. Listen, at the end of this 4 weeks, you're going to have a chance as well to make your own commitment. And we hope that you pray on that throughout these 4 weeks as we talk to you about Made for More. But we do want to take a chance right now to give you the opportunity to give if you feel called to do so. And so if you do feel called and you do want to make a contribution, you can head over to movementfindlay.com/give.
And as we take a moment to give, we'll be heading into a time of celebrating and singing together.
Just one word, you calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, the darkness has to retreat. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Just one word, you feel what's broken inside. Just one word, you revive every dream. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes are open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing that our God can't do. It's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing, no, nothing that He can't do. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise, let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like His power. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a prison wall He can't break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's nothing that our God can't do.
Again, we're just so excited that you could join us this morning, especially for such a significant celebration as we start this Made for More journey. And we want to remind you that the next 2 services will be online, and then in 3 weeks we will be in person and gathering together, which we're really excited about as well. So like we said at the beginning, we really hope you can stick with us for all 4 weeks, because there's some really great information and great stuff when it comes to Made for More. Also, want you to mark your calendars for Sunday, November 22nd, as we're going to set aside that day to gather at our new building to pray over the building, to write some names on the ground, which will be really cool. You can write names of people you've been praying for that you really hope can be impacted by this Made for More journey, and that's a date that I'm really excited about. So again, Sunday, November 22nd.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely want to be there. And also, we just want to highly recommend joining a move group during this time. The Made for More series is a great time to invest in setting aside, whether that be one night a week or 2 nights or every other week, depending on what move group you would like to join. But move groups are just basically there to make sure you're a part of the community. You know, we talked about earlier equipping you to go out and be the church, and move groups, they're just there to help that. And I know for me that move groups just give you that community aspect, and it's just a way that you're able to go on and fulfill God's mission for you, but not doing it alone. I know that move groups may seem scary at first, but the level of growth and the way that you can grow with your relationship with God and others is just awesome to see. So right now is a beautiful time to join a move group.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we know that we've given you a lot of information today. There's going to be a lot of information in these next 4 weeks. But as Eric said, there is a place online you can go to get more information on Made for More, and that's at movementfinley.com/madeformore. So go check it out.
Definitely. So Movement, thank you for joining us this morning, and go and be the church.